Perspective. Perspective.
Perspective.
I want to give a special welcome to all the listeners out there. You are now experiencing the Perspective Junkies podcast. And as your host, speaking for all of us, we're very thankful that you decided to come listen. We know there's a lot of podcast options out there in the universe, and it just means that much more that you decided to come check us out. So we greatly appreciate that. Last week, we discussed a 13-year-old baby shower and, considering allowing your future child to go or attend and how that might normalize that type of behavior in their mind once you do allow that. And so we had a fun discussion and it was great. So this week we're discussing colorism and how that might affect different shades in the African American community. And so we had a great debate and got down to the nitty gritty of it, and of course we wondered a little bit, but we were having fun with it. So we hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Hello listeners, you are tuned in to Perspective Junkies, where we are addicted to giving you the controversial idea, controversial thoughts, not even controversial, just different. My name is Cody, aka Captain Controversy.
I am Vontae Swank, the man of mental health.
And I am KB, knows Moses.
And today we're going to dive into something I briefly discussed on Twitter. Just want to get the viewpoint from my co-host. I made a tweet, got a little buzz, got a little,
We're in trouble.
Got some people commenting that a little aggressively. I get it. I'm not really the one that's swayed by people, that's the one. I don't really care about that. But I'm going to tell you guys what I said, and I want the viewers and the listeners to comment in on that. I also want to get the co-host. I made a comment that I believe light-skinned people experience colorism. Definitely throughout the black community, and especially as children in their younger years, their more formative years. Now, let me explain my viewpoint of that. If your definition of colorism is that oppression or mistreatment or prejudice only towards darker people, well then, I give in to you. I submit to that because that's your definition of it. But I believe that colorism, there's also several definitions online. You can look it up. Is prejudice based on differing skin tones, and it can also happen within the same race. And you see Caucasian people that have a little prejudice towards paler people, which I guess would be considered lighter. You can see it within Hispanic communities. The more you look closer to black, the less that you look, et cetera, et cetera. In the African community, they may think that people that have lighter skin tone are less African than others. And I believe in the African American community, although I do definitely agree that there's less representation of darker women and men on maybe TV and in magazines, I don't think that's really representative of their experience in day-to-day life. So in day-to-day life, for those who don't know, lighter skinned men are typically considered less masculine, less strong, and I would say that is significant, huge. That's something that you don't want to hear as a boy. And I would say that lighter skinned women typically, they get resentment from other women because they're considered bougie, stuck up, and receiving an unwarranted amount of attention from the jump, before they even really speak. It's on them to kind of prove that they're not that. But they have that expectation floating around, and this causes a level of discomfort. I think for some, they're gonna clap back by almost getting more aggressive and thus proving the resentment true or necessary. Like if someone's saying, "Oh, you stuck up all the time," eventually you'd probably be like, "All right, forget y'all," and then you're considered more stuck up. If people, and then on the man's side, sometimes I think hyper masculine behavior is encouraged when you call boys soft. Oh, he's soft. He a light skin. Oh, he's soft. Eventually, they're gonna clap back by being more than they should be unnecessarily, just to prove I'm not that. So, that's my thought, and I think it's pretty significant, pretty obvious to anybody who's in a black space that there's prejudice on both sides. Me being, I would say, kind of in the middle, I think of I'm kind of unbiased. There's no benefit of me hyping up either side, and I would say that for sure, both darker skin and lighter skin get their fair share of colorism within our community.
You know, it's funny you say that because I always thought you was a dark skinned nigga for a long time. When we just started coming up with brown joint.
Okay.
But you know, I get that for sure. It was definitely like colorism was definitely used as a hierarchy in most societies, but it's just like when the black people got it and it got into the African American community, it was still a thing. And then over the time, it seems like it changed to like a overcompensation almost, like because dark skinned people are getting that kickback from being dark skinned, they turned it over and eventually started to be, you know, meaner to light skinned people in a sense. And it was like, you know how sometimes they'll say if a group finally gets the power, then they're going to do the same thing that was oppressed them.
And I 100% agree with that.
So, you know, I feel like it's a little bit of that going on. Now, there is still, you know, colorism against dark-skinned people, but when we say that light-skinned people are getting that same type of thing, it's not taken away from what dark-skinned people are getting. But it's a less acknowledged thing that happens constantly. Like, Drake had to go through that his whole career.
He's still going through it.
Still.
He's still, no, despite his success, Kenzie, I would say that a lot of the kickback are for him even entering reggae or talking different.
Yeah,
it's not just
rap,
it's not just his accent.
People didn't want to hear him rap.
They deem him as less black. You know what I'm saying? And Party Next Door didn't pop off the scene with reggae music, but he has that look, and people feel like he's in that culture. Now, me. You know, you just scope on YouTube, you watch movies, you'll notice that in Canada it's an extremely diverse area with a lot of Caribbean, a lot of French, a lot of white, etc. So it actually makes sense for him to have several accents, several different energies, several different music that he listens to. But you know, let him say it in Atlanta, where I'm from, they like, bro, just making up stuff. He just making up stuff. I don't even know why he talk like that. He don't talk like that. Like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's almost like
that's unfair. My good friend Blue had to educate me on that, how diverse Canada was. So when Drake was like, you know, the one dance song came out, I'm like, I don't like all this tropical, like this islander stuff. He's like, bro, it gets like that in Canada. It's a lot of diversity, and a lot of people that really do have like accents, that tropical air aurora about them. But when he told me that, I was like, I'll lay it off a little bit, but I still hate the tropical Drake.
So you have the official definition pulled up right here, though.
Yeah.
Let's hear that.
Colorism. Prejudice or discrimination, especially within a racial or ethnic group, favoring people with lighter skin over those with darker skin. So, by definition, Cody would be wrong by definition. So right there is like, I feel like we should come up with a new word for it when it's just like, it can be even, because it's for sure coming up. I know they don't want to hear no light skinned people talk about it. They're like,
right.
You don't know what you're talking
right.
about.
And that's a good argument. That's the best argument against it. The definition that.
By definition, you guys are right. It's impossible, but it should be another word for it, because for sure coming up, when you're light skinned, you are deemed as soft. Like you don't sing, or they see I'm light skinned, they like, you don't got curly hair. What's up with that? I used to get offended by that. I'm like, bro, I'm black. Just chill out. Just chill on.
Onto the Koopa. I feel like for one, there's a key word in that definition, and that's especially, and so that's not solely that. And then secondly, I'm wondering, is this type of scenario where you know how people are saying, you know, black people can't be racist because they don't have the power?
It is that.
So you feel like it's that same
and
type of thing going
it's
on?
100%. That to me is the core of people's argument. If you're looking for the argument to say that if lighter skinned people do not face these same forms, which is, you know, maybe you're more inclined to getting a harsher sentence, or you don't see as many video vixens that look similar to you, well then yeah, I will agree with you that it's different in that way. But I feel like you have to take in modern situations. At this moment, the fact that light skinned people who are black, who typically have a dark skinned parent and a light skinned parent, it's not always a biracial mix. these people feel uncomfortable even speaking on the issue. You saw when Kenzie had to make that comment. That to me is there's a prejudice. There's just like an unsaid word. Like we kind of want you. We kind of don't really feel like you should be the representative of this campaign right now. Like there was something on Twitter about a movie, and I believe it's called Black Love, and it's a preview of it. They had like several different couples, and there's a woman, I don't know her name. She put a paper bag over the husbands, and at first I thought she was calling men trash, and I hate that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it ended up that they were making the paper bag test, like saying that the wives were all lighter skinned, and you know what I'm saying? Essentially, the movie is invalid because of that. And for a moment, I'll even say I had gotten on my radical left side, and I kind of got to the point where I accepted that as fact. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Can we get some darker shades to be represented? But in that specific situation, I feel like that is so disrespectful to someone's marriage, to the person that they chose, who is still African American, who claims I am black, for you to be like, yeah, but you know, yeah, black.
On the preview, every wife was light skinned.
No, a couple of them were brown skin, but they were like, "Oh, that's the lighting." You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. I'm like,
They got a shadow on them.
yeah, like, oh, well, she got curly hair. I'm like, so now, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, it discourages a significant portion of our race to even speak out on it. Why would someone go to bat for a group that doesn't consider them, you know, fully included in the black race? Like, oh, it has to be a darker skin, preferably this size lips, preferably like. I'm like, I don't think you should make all those restrictions on it. I think that becomes a resentment. It's too much. And then I also make the statement that with everything comes a little bit of privilege, and some people don't want to hear that. But when I really think about it, because I like to think of myself as like a street philosopher. You know what I'm saying? But when a person is wealthy, when a person is wealthy, although they obviously have the privilege of having more resources, access to better education, things of that nature, the negative is the resentment from people below them. They have to deal with a whole different struggle of people feeling like you didn't get what you got in a fair way. It's kind of like everything is given to you. You tend to be considered bougie, even if you have a personality that's very down to earth. Your struggles are different. I'm not saying that, you know, you would want to trade, but you definitely are going to come with some struggles. When a person is considered very attractive, the struggle is that people think that you are usually cocky, you're arrogant, you know what I'm saying? You think you're better than other people. Yeah. So the struggles that come from lighter skinned African Americans is it's similar to those things. And that's what I would consider a prejudice. The only bad part about it is, imagine having these struggles, but you're still part of the race that is struggling the most. So you're dealing with the pressures within your own race of like, you ain't really one of us, but you clearly still, your nose too big to be considered white, your lips are too big to be considered white. You definitely don't participate or enjoy the fullness of being part of that. So if you God forbid you come up, you making some money, I don't think you would have that strong burning desire to go and help your community. You like, I felt a lot of resentment from my community. I felt some of my harshest moments from my community. Because white people, although I think they're aware that of oh, you look lighter, they still, for the most part, in my observation,
you're black.
You're black.
we not the light skin where they looking at us like,
right, though.
They different.
Right. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like and when people make the light skinned people out there, I'm like, what you really want to say is that small percentage of African Americans, there is a small percentage that usually you have to have some white directly in your blood. We ain't talking about down the line. We talking about that 5 to 10% that your nose is so slender, your lips are so slim, you know what I'm saying, your hair is so curly that you truly look like you might not be anything. You might be, you know, Italian. You are lacking even the pigment. But a lot of light-skinned people, it's clear that people say you mixed with something else plus black, because you look black. Your lips, your body type, everything about you looks like something with African American is coming from you. So when I just think it just lacks foresight. It's rooted in way too much resentment, and I just don't believe in, because you had a struggle in a certain area, you don't grow in adulthood and understand, okay, they have struggles in other areas. I had people call me dorky, but you know what I'm saying, when I grow up, I'm like, look, they had their struggles with reading, or they might have had their problems in school, so it might have been a little pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get why you might have felt that way toward me. I'm not crying like
you could get made fun of for being successful.
Yeah,
you come
everything.
into a job with your homeboys.
Yeah, like
you
okay.
become manager. They be like, this nigga do everything the boss said, bro. Get paid.
And once I understood that, I grew to kind of I resent the resentment culture we're creating. Oh, you didn't have this certain level of struggle. You didn't have, I'm like, nah, forget all of that. Like, it's about the current person you are, and you're not gonna be a proper parent if you're coming into the game like, because you light skinned, like, you ain't gonna deal with nothing. Like, imagine you have, which is realistic. Imagine you have a son and a daughter, and one is dark skinned, one's light skinned. How are you going to, what is your education? How are you going to, you know what I'm saying? What is your way of raising the kids when you come in with a mindset that one side ain't going to deal with nothing? But I'm like, I just don't, I'm not with all that. But I do agree to a certain extent, and I'll give people this. Yeah, some darker skinned people are more inclined to getting maybe harsher treatment or already considered bad, you know what I'm saying, just by nature of the way you look. What I would say is that it can be easily combated with good behavior. If you chill, if you don't get in too much trouble, it will definitely, you'll have a chance of circumventing or getting past that issue. I will say that. I'm gonna make that statement. I know that's controversial.
I wouldn't say that because I could see like the definition of colorism and how they feel like. I see that. I've seen that sometimes. Like, yeah, the darker skinned kids always like, you know, they first choice. Like, hey, who did that? Jaquez. What you doing on there? I'm like, damn, he ain't doing it. Goddamn, Tyrone did it. But I can see, that's why I would have to disagree. I feel like there's struggles on both sides. But of course, I think the dark skinned one is worse. But I think in this new era, right now, trending is dark skin. Like, you get praise. And like I was saying to y'all earlier, like, coming up, like, who your mama praise, like, what actors they love. They don't name no light skin, man. It's always Morris Chestnut. They just they're like, oh, I love him. Mama, I used to hate hearing that. But I'm like, she never named no light skinned dude, bro. That's why it's hard for me to always just hop on that train and just be like, yeah, you're right. And I ain't gonna lie, I saw Cody on Twitter getting ate up. I was looking from the sideline like, I can't even favorite this right now, but I agree.
And that's the issue. Is light skinned people DMing me on the side like, yo, low key, you was right, bro. I ain't really trying to, I ain't trying to get in. I'm like, hey, y'all messing up the culture when you don't have the ability to just say, say it how it is. That's the reason why we have the freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to, and I want to make this clear. Never in my argument did I say light-skinned people have it worse. I didn't even say they have equal. I said they face colorism. It's clear they face prejudice. That to me is almost like when people try to make the argument like other races, like maybe a Latino or maybe a Asian, that they don't face racism or deal with issues that we. No, of course, because their skin is less melanated typically, they may not deal with it to the same degree. Do they deal with it? Do they have to face stereotypes? Of course. If we're making an argument that they don't face none of it, now we're starting to. It's just being dishonest, and I'm not engaging in that.
I can also acknowledge that I feel like is it rap culture? But I feel like it still kind of leans toward light-skinned women or having a foreign and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something that still needs changing. But I also feel like there has been a lot more representation of dark-skinned women. And it's like starting to shift.
It's definitely on the rise right now. Like, there's Cash Doll. Like, she dark-skinned, bro.
Like, she's beautiful.
But, it could, it could go back to that, like, how Cardi is making it, they try to put the colorism on that sometimes.
What would you consider Meg Thee Stallion?
Brown skin.
Brown skin? Okay.
Yeah.
It's the hottest right now. The hottest female rapper out.
But even to what you were saying with that, I know I believe in foresight and it's like seeing where things are going to go. It eventually goes to until the elimination of any unfairness is like the standard of success, which means that until we get to the point where there's going to be majority dark-skinned women in videos, to the point where light-skinned women can actually make a case like, hey, we not getting we not getting invited to these parties.
It might turn into an endless cycle.
That's what it is.
And it got to a point where I was seeing on Twitter like light skin dude.
Right.
We ain't going with that no more.
Yeah, like you can openly crack a joke saying I ain't going to light skin. Like that's childish. But if you say the joke about nursing, it's like you're colorist and would you say it to your mother? I'm like, wow. And I'm like, I want humor to stay. I want people to be able to crack jokes on everybody. And I also understand this, and I want listeners to really marinate on this, is that the elimination of a struggle for you is impossible. The elimination of even playing fields in the world is impossible. Not only is it impossible, I don't believe it's favorable. If I go and I work hard and I build something with my wife and we end up having a little bit of wealth, eventually it'll end up unfair how much more my kids have a chance to shine than the kids of someone who doesn't make it.
That's a little different because that's controllable. You can't control
your chance. Well, I'll say this. You didn't control the fact that you're tall.
Nah, I didn't. It's an unfair advantage.
It's an unfair advantage. If it so happens that you have sons and they're tall, and because of that, girls choose them at a higher rate simply because they're tall. You didn't choose that. Do we need to wait? And we gotta have a little campaign. Hey, love the short guys. Short guys gonna win, but they gotta. The part of what makes them strong is the ability to fight and combat the fact that they are already physically going against a juggernaut. The physical nature and the physical inclination of women to like taller guys. Girls who are slender body. In our community, it may be a little bit of love towards women with larger butts. They gotta deal with that. Though. You can't. It can never get to the point where it's 100% even. To even try to make it even is to bash somebody else on the way there. So now, like, thick girls are fat on the way to making.
Like you climbing up, people hanging out,
right?
Really grabbing their head, like to the
top. you gotta have your own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hey, I agree with that, and I just hope that we can keep shifting, and hopefully there's a balance that we can hang on to. But knowing people, it'll never be that balance, but that's the hope that it could be that.
The balance would have to be mainly targeted towards individual couples and parents indoctrinating their kids with love of self, regardless of your skin tone. To me, that's the only goal that even is feasible or realistic. That means that if I have a dark-skinned son or daughter, I love you, you're beautiful, and understand the world gonna have some jokes. You gotta get strong. Don't try to make the world change. You get your personal confidence to a point. I just remember my dad having a conversation that I think has stuck with me my whole life. Like I was in second grade and they were saying something about shoes or something like that. And I just remember him saying, you gotta step in your shoes. You gotta have a little confidence in your shoes. You gotta walk like, this is my shoes, and if they come, they joke. Develop your jokes. Like, be prepared. They're gonna say something, but you don't go into the bathroom and change your shoes. Right. That to me stuck with me, and I think it's what makes me the guy I am today. I literally hate people who are of weak character to the point where they can't stand on anything. They want to shake everything. Mm-hmm. So that's like me having a radio show or a podcast, and I want to be known for having a different thought. But I'm scared, or I get mad at people for being mad at my response. I'm like, hey,
say something different.
That's the price that comes with what I want. I want people to say something. I'm prepared for y'all to sometimes be offended or disagree with what I say. If I didn't want that, this is not the right lifestyle. I get annoyed with people who, I have friends who want to be rappers or entertainers, and they struggle with the understanding, hey, you're gonna be lame until you're not. That's your thing. Your thing is that you're going to have money. And if you get it, you're going to have money and girls and fame. The negatives is that you work in an industry that people only like you if you hot. You're not a manager of a firm.
It's funny
you're not a doctor.
Like when I was in middle school, when Waka Flocka first came out with his mixtapes, I was loving it. I was just listening to the old mixtapes the other day. Him and Travis Porter mixtape, I was just like, dang, I really love this. And then Walker came out with an interview recently, just basically admitted, like, rap. He said, my favorite rapper is like Eazy-E, all them other boys. I can't rap. I just did it for some money. It just worked. I'm over here like, I was loving that though. I was embarrassed. I was like, pure confidence. He won me over. I'm like, this the future. And he was for a quick little minute.
Right. And I ain't even like that stuff. I'll tell y'all right, I was wrong about a couple of rappers. Future, I remember going to every AAU game, and they would just be like, especially if it's in the hood and they playing music, they playing Future stuff. I remember teens and they had their headphones in. It's booming, you can hear it like Future. And when I listened to it, I was like, cool, like this who y'all think next up. Like,
I wasn't wrong about Future.
He was next up.
I was wrong about like Rich Homie Quan, because people would never like to admit, like when Type of Way came out, that man was better than. I was like, yeah, Rich Homie Quan up, he up, and then he's beefing with Future. I'm like, nah. Then Future came out with shit. I was like, okay. And then Rich Homie Quan lost Thug. I was like, I can't do nothing with you no more. It is Future. It's his world now.
And he's still creating quality stuff.
Who?
Rich Homie.
Rich Homie is creating quality. It's
quality.
Like, it's his original sound. That's the problem, though. He didn't change.
And he is a perfect example of like what I said to people who are entertainers and things that like understand that your industry to a certain degree succeeds, thrives, and dies by public opinion. So when you're an artist or anything that requires a lot of people to buy in, you can't be so affected by people initially not supporting or having a little like, this is what's coming with your lifestyle. I don't know if you have the skin. I don't know if you have the energy ready for the struggles that are coming with your career. Like, you need to get into a career. You need to get into investments, something that does not require public approval. But if you're going to be a singer, nail person, hair person, hey, you need to advertise. You need to advertise so hard that people are persuaded to support you. You can't be like, hey, man, y'all ain't really... What do you think you got to do? Do you think that I'm DJ Khaled? You think my commentary, my support is so powerful that it'll push you to the next level? No, you gotta be hungry. That's why even with this podcast, I'll shoot a little message to my friends here and there, but I'm not expecting them to give the retweet because I don't bank on y'all. They're my boys, but I don't really respect y'all to be as supportive, even if I was supportive to you, because that's not the nature of what I believe this is. I don't believe that this is for.
Even some of like my closest friends haven't been supporting.
Yeah, he dropping bombs on people. I expect that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've learned, and I think to me some of that has come from. This might be straying off, but relationship with women in the past, to me.
We gotta say it.
No. We gotta say that. Listen, relationships with women in the past, like when you have you can have a little high school girlfriend, and you can see. In the moment, you care about that girl. You walking her at every period. Y'all calling. You're talking on the phone more than you'll ever talk on the phone as a man. And you might even say, hey, I love you. When you grow up and you go to college and you see, dang, like, you become a man, even outside of college, you see, this is a person who truly caught me in my most vulnerable moments, who truly knows my little secrets, my little dreams.
That's another topic right there. You got just coaching, talking to my players. I'll be like, look, man. I don't want to discourage nothing because you could be like LeBron and his girl, like high school sweetheart. Right. But I'm like, odds is, when you get to college, you will never remember this girl. You ain't gonna remember her name. You ain't gonna answer her calls. Like, not
even that you forget them. It's that
it's like they can't compete no more with you got to see in college. Like, you need to let it go, man.
And the fact that you can get, and even this will happen even outside of school, like in your grown person life, until you find your wife or husband or whoever it is that you are striving for, the people along the way, they'll know your dream is to open up a little cookie store somewhere. You busting butt. You get your little license. You can find your restaurant, and they don't even have the presence of mind to go shoot you a little. Hey, I know we not together, but I see you on your dreams, man. Good job. That to me is crazy. But once I really picked up on that story, I'm like, I can't trust nobody then. If that's how you go, this is the person who was, you know what I'm saying, you getting physically involved with this person. You can't shoot the, you know what I'm saying, you can't shoot the egg. Congratulations.
I see you.
You know what I'm saying?
I see what you doing.
Me and my thing, you might know what it's called. I learned a big part of that even on crossing. Mm-hmm. You cross Capitol, you know for a fact you illegally told some people like, man, this is a big dream of me. Anybody who's in Greek life knows, hey, it's not easy. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? This ain't just a quick come up. This is something that takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. So when people can't just, shoot you a little, man, hey, good job, man. Congrats.
Wow, them boys cross.
They lame.
Confused. I'm like, you need to pull up. I'm like, what, man? I'm at school. Seeing them boys, I see Cody and them. damn near bald. I'm like, they singing over here. I'm here, Vontae. I seen Vontae yell. I was like, I ain't never seen this nigga yell before.
Right.
My name's Devontae Washington. I'm like, oh shit. Then they had to show me what Greek life is. I was like, it's different.
That was a monumental day.
Right. Huge day.
It was. That was one of the only times I ever been jealous. I'm like, man, they got all the love, bro. Like, you in the crowd like, is that my girl clapping? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
But yeah, you have any more talk before I change topic?
I think it's a good episode to wrap up on right there, you know.
Good closing. I like that one. That was.
So, you know, this is Perspective Junkies, and, you know, I'm Vontae Swank, the man of mental health.
Cody, Captain Controversy.
And KB knows most.
And y'all just please, you know, like and subscribe. You know, you ain't got to if you don't want to, but we really appreciate that. And all the love and, you know, feedback would be great. And we hope y'all can stay tuned and be ready for what's next.
Right. And pause. At Perspective Junkies on Instagram. You can comment. Direct message if you have any topics that you would like for us to address or you would like to come and say something on the show. And then at Perspective Jun1 on Twitter. So it don't have a K. Perspective Jun1 on Twitter. And everything is available on all platforms. So tap in.
Hey, and please bear with us. We learning and we figuring this thing out. And as we keep building on this, you know, we hope to keep bringing good content and delivering. So is that it for us, boys?
All right.
Good.
Peace.